Hello, Josh Johnson here. You are watching a Facebook and YouTube live stream where we are discussing the risk of severe weather across Alabama. This is a busy evening already. We've had multiple tornado warnings in our state that have included parts of Choctaw. We actually have an active tornado warning now in northern Choctaw County. Clark County, we had what looked like a strong tornado touchdown just south of Coffeyville in Clark County a couple of hours ago. And now we're sort of starting to see this pick back up a little bit here. So we'll do a little storm tracking in here. So this is the current tornado warning situation. We've got a tornado warning for Choctaw County, Alabama, Wayne County, Mississippi. Now, the Wayne County storm is producing or has been producing what's called a tornado debris signature, meaning we know there has been a tornado on the ground at some point, and there may still be one on the ground right now back in Wayne County, Mississippi. Now, in Choctaw County, Alabama, this is a radar-indicated tornado. So we'll pop in there using the mobile radar. It's a long, long way from home, but that's the best one we've got out here in West Alabama. We've talked a lot about that over the years, haven't we? So there's your tornadic circulation north of Butler. That would be east of 17. That's moving towards Marengo. However, the air is relatively cool and stable up here, so I suspect we will not see a tornado warning issued for that storm into Marengo. What I think we could see in Marengo County is this southern storm. See it down here? That's producing a tornado right now, just east of Shabuta, Mississippi. That is US 45 running north and south. I-59 is back here. That's US 84. This is just north of 84 and just east of US 45 in Mississippi. That could clip southern Marengo down the road. And the warm front, or the focusing mechanism for these tornadic storms, has lifted north and is probably in southern Marengo County right now, based on the data we have available. Camden now is up into the 70s. Greenville is up into the 70s. We'll talk more about the environment in just a moment, but just understand that the risk of tornadoes is increasing, especially in southwest and parts of south central Alabama. So because we have seen that warm front come north just slightly. So there you go. That's the story there. A lot of questions about Autauga, Millbrook, Auburn areas. So let's talk about it. Okay, so we'll go back to the wide perspective here. And the best indicator for where the tornado producing environment is so far today has been roughly where the dew point is above 65. And on this map, that 65 is pretty close to where I'm drawing it right there. So the line here would be well south of Auburn. We would be right down something like that. So along that line and south of that line is where the greatest tornado risk exists. However, there is still a window. You know, these storms are still several hours away from Montgomery and Millbrook and Prattville and Pike Road and Auburn. And if this comes north even 25 or 30 miles, that would put a whole lot of real estate in play for a tornado chance to expand up here north of that existing warm front location. So that would include Selma and Montgomery and Prattville and Pike Road and Millbrook and maybe even as far north as Auburn. I suspect Auburn would be on the northern fringe of it. But again, we have 3, 4, 5, 6 hours until the storms reach Auburn. So that's a lot of time for this to come north. That said, right now the wind is out of the east. So I think it's really questionable that front makes it all the way north to Auburn. It's right on the line. You need to stay weather aware. You need to have multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings, but I think it is questionable that the front would come as far north as Auburn. Now, could it come to Seal and Hurtsboro and Union Springs and Pike Road and Montgomery and Prattville? I think that's a safer bet. That's a more likely possibility there. So that's the story for the river region. And by the way, if this all were to take place in the river region, it would be after, say, 9, 10 o'clock through about 2 or 3 in the morning. So 9 to 3. 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. is the time window for Lowndes and Autauga and Elmore and Montgomery and Butler and Crenshaw and Pike and Bullock counties would be the timeline in there. So that's how that's going to play out as the line of storms comes east. Now, one thing I'll point out here, new tornado warning just coming in. This is for Choctaw County, and they're still calling this confirmed tornado. So in our system here, when you see an outline in red, that is a standard tornado warning. When you see it flashing and the color goes from red to black, like it does right here, that is a confirmed tornado. Either in person, we've seen it, or it's been confirmed via radar. So that's what we're looking at there. It's a confirmed tornado with the storm coming out of Clark County and Wayne County in Mississippi and heading on towards Choctaw County, Alabama. So if you have family or friends that live anywhere from Butler down 17 south there in Choctaw County, they need to be in that tornado safe place. Lowest floor of their home, hallway, bathroom, or closet immediately, because that's a pretty dangerous storm. Do I think Quitman County, Georgia will have any of this? Over near Eufaula. You are so far east, I think you'll have heavy rain. I think you'll have loud thunder. I think you'll have gusty wind. I think the tornado risk for you is not zero, but I do think it is much lower than a lot of these other places that we're talking about. Same thing in Barber County, same thing in Lee County, same thing in Russell County. The tornado risk is not zero, but I think it is substantially higher out here into parts of southwestern Alabama. Now, the other thing we're kind of keeping an eye on here, a lot happening simultaneously. We have this cluster of storms here. Most of this is north of the warm front. However, Camden, the U.S. Forest Service station down there, reported 71 degrees. So that tells me that that front is somewhere between Camden and Selma, right? So wherever that warm front is, some of these southern flank storms down here could be very close to it. So we will keep a really close eye on the radar data out here in Dallas County to see if we see any sort of rotation begin to tighten up due to the warm front being at least in the vicinity, right? I don't know that it's as far north as Dallas County, but I do know it's made it into Wilcox anyway. So it's close enough, and we don't have many reporting stations between Selma and Camden, so we won't know it's to Selma until it's to Selma, right? Meaning it could be here or even here, and we might not know about it because with the lack of reporting stations in there. So that's where we are now. May asks, is Millbrook at risk? Yes, you are. I'll show you the tornado risk map, and what I want everyone to kind of focus on and understand here is, look, there is a tornado risk here for everyone who can watch WSFA. If you live anywhere south of Birmingham in Alabama, there's at least some tornado risk. It is lower the farther north you go and the farther east you go, but there is a risk everywhere, right? In the southern half or so of the state. The color outlined in yellow here is where the Storm Prediction Center has a 10%. It's a 5% in brown, it's a 2% in green. So, like I said, the farther east you go, you run out of the warm air runs out over here. In far south Alabama, it's 5% because the best wind shear is north of there. But there's going to be an overlap that sets up out here in this 10% area. And it's going to be a relatively narrow corridor where you have enough warm air has moved north, and there's enough wind shear that's come south, and you end up with this corridor where we see multiple rotating storms and the chance for multiple tornadoes. As I said, probably going to be a relatively narrow strip. But it is where, if you're in that strip, it's going to be problematic for you. That Coffeyville thing earlier, I'm fully convinced that was an EF2 or 3 tornado. That was a big tornado. Touchdown just south of Coffeyville. That's over in Clark County, right out here. West of Grove Hill. That one looked like a really tough storm. That was a bad tornado. So it only takes a couple. It only takes one tornado, wrong spot, wrong time, to cause problems. So let me show you this again. We'll go into the temperature data. We did dew point earlier. So a couple of things are happening at the same time here. Warm air is coming in out of the Gulf of America. I almost said Mexico there. By the way, if I ever call it the Gulf of Mexico, I promise you I am not making a political statement. I've been calling it that for a long time. Like, I'm 42, so since I could talk the first time I said it, my first visit to the beach was when I was 5 years old. So I've been at least looking at it or swimming in it since 1987. So I would never make a political statement like that. That's not my style. That's not who I am. So please, a little grace. If I slip up and say Gulf of Mexico, that's because we called it that for a very long time. So warm air is coming in out of the Gulf of America. At the same time, there's some easterly wind that's actually pushing colder air in to much of East Alabama. So we've got this really big kind of just mess over our area where it is up in that cold air. temperatures are in the 40s, right? There's no risk of a tornado in the 40s. And down closer to the Gulf, we're in the 70s. So 25-degree difference. And a lot of the core in our area here, where a lot of the people live who are watching this, Auburn, Montgomery, Prattville, Millbrook, Wetumpka, Selma, you're right on that dividing line. I mean, this could be one. I mean, look at this. We'll zoom in a little tighter here just to show you this whole thing. So in northern Elmore County, it's 54. In South Montgomery County, it's 70. This is a tornado environment. This is not. The issue will also be, okay, if there's a battle right now. You've got easterly wind pushing that wedge of cool air in. You've got southerly wind bringing the warm air up. Which one will end up winning out and where, right? Now, out west, the warm air from the Gulf of America is winning. And back east, the colder air from the wedge is winning. So this will be kind of a sneaky, tricky scenario where exactly how far north that warm air makes it is really going to be tricky to nail down. What I'm going to do, just as a kind of course of least regret, if there's any reasonable chance that warm air could make it north to York County, we're going to include you in a severe weather risk. And I think that's the philosophy coming from the Storm Prediction Center as well, because quite frankly, some of these northern counties that are in that risk level, it's really questionable, right, if the warm air comes north that far. So there you go. I don't think any serious person cares what you call it. I promise they do. I called it the Gulf of Mexico in the 5 o'clock news, and I got an email and a Facebook comment before that newscast was even over correcting it on a severe weather day where I've got 1,000 other things to focus on. So I promise someone out there cares, right? There are some, at least anyway. So, but I'm not going to get into all of that and all the politics of all that whole thing. So what's the chance of strong tornadoes in Lee County? I would say the chance is low. It's not zero, though. So we get so wound up about what is the risk level. Is it high? Is it low? Is it medium? Is it level 1? Is it level 5? A risk is a risk is a risk. If there is a risk of you getting run over when you cross the street, you're going to look both ways, right? You're going to take time and make sure that you're safe if there's any risk of you getting hit when you cross the street, which most of us cross the street every day and don't get hit by a car. But we take that protective thought process and that protective action of stopping and looking both ways. Same thing with weather. If the risk is high, if the risk is low, if the risk is medium, if the risk is 1, if the risk is 4, if it's 5, if there's a risk, you need to do 2 things. You need to have multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings. NOAA Weather Radio, the First Alert WSFA Weather app are a winning combination. You cannot rely on outdoor weather sirens. Second thing is, you need to plan ahead of time where you'll go if a tornado threatens your specific location. That answer is different for everyone. If you live in a site-built home, you want to be in a basement, storm shelter, or anywhere on the lowest floor in the central part of the house, a bathroom, a hallway, a closet. If you live in a mobile or manufactured home, going to a hallway, bathroom, or closet will do you no good whatsoever, because the issue with mobile and manufactured homes is that they get rolled or thrown through the air, which in that case, being in a bathroom doesn't help, being in a hallway doesn't help. You got to get out. If you live in a mobile or manufactured home, you need to be thinking about a family member, a neighbor, a friend, a local business that's open 24 hours, a community storm shelter. There are options, right? Don't give up. There are options. You just have to find them. There's a website called findyourtornadoshelter.com that is really great. A friend of mine named Craig over at Mississippi State put it together. It is a really, really great website. So check that out. All right. Lots and lots of questions about specific areas. So, okay, this is a good question. Does the weather app alert for the entire county or just the specific area? It is just the specific area. So our weather app alerts based on your phone's location if you are in the specific storm warning issued by the National Weather Service. This can get confusing because your weather radio alerts based on the entire county. So like for instance, if you're hanging out in Millbrook and there's a tornado warning issued up at Eclectic, if you're not in that warning polygon that's drawn, your app will not go off, but the sirens probably will. And this is where it gets really confusing. A lot of counties are different. Some counties sound the sirens across the entire county. Some counties only sound the sirens close to where the storm polygon is drawn. And then you've got weather radio, which alerts for the entire county every time. So in that instance, let's say you live in Millbrook, there's a warning in Eclectic, you're not in the warning, your weather sirens you probably will not hear, your weather app will not go off, and your weather radio will go off. That's confusing, right? But if you understand the process, then you'll know what's what. So weather radio alerts for the entire county. Weather apps like ours alert for just your location. Outstanding question, by the way. So there's a guy who's typed, what about Covington County, no less than 20 times. Covington County is in South Alabama. You're in the warm area down here. Wind shear's a little less. It's going to turn wet and stormy late tonight, after midnight in Covington County. And damaging winds the main concern, but I can't rule out a brief tornado either. You need to have multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings overnight tonight through early Thursday morning. By 7 o'clock Thursday, this is all gone. And quite frankly, everything I just said applies to every county in our area, right? There is a risk of damaging wind and tornadoes tonight, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the middle of the state, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. in the southeast. Everyone needs to have multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings and know ahead of time where you'll go in the case of a tornado. That's it. That is one size fits all tonight. This is not a scenario where we can say, okay, well, there's absolutely no tornado risk here. Because I'll tell you too, I've gotten burned before. We had a situation several years ago where we actually had a tornado in Tallapoosa County with a dew point of 58, a temperature in the upper 50s. It's rare, but it can happen. So even if you're north of the warm front, A, the warm front could come north, and B, sometimes weird things happen with storms. Storms are extremely dynamic, powerful things, and sometimes they don't behave the way we think they will. So it's imperative that you follow that advice. Again, north, south, east, west, which county, which community, doesn't matter. The advice is the same, multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings. You need a weather radio. Is it on your site? No, but if you go to academy.com and order a Midland weather radio and use the promo code WSFA, you'll get free shipping. So how about that for some good advice? So there you go. Kelly asked, any snow? No, not yet. However, next week it's going to turn cold. We're back in the upper 20s Monday morning. How about that? We go from 80s to 20s. Wasn't that long ago. I guess it was 3 weeks and a day. So 22 days ago, it was snowing. Now we're in tornado watch. We set record highs between the snow and right now, and the next week will be cold again. Ain't life grand? Yes, the warm front is slowly pushing north. Keyword there is slowly. It is really a slow process. I just need to know if I need to stay up all night. I would not, but that's a personal decision. Do you have a weather radio? Do you have the First Alert weather app with the location set to follow me and your phone out of silent mode? If you do all those things, I would go to sleep and maybe you get lucky. Maybe there's no bad weather where you are. There's going to be rain and storms, by the way, almost everywhere. Even in places north of the warm front, there's still going to be loud thunder and torrential rain and gusty wind, and it's just going to be a really messy night. Let me show you this. This is back in Mississippi. This is a little different data source here, but this is called Radar Scope, and yeah, you see the same thing I see. See how far west that line goes back into Mississippi? So what's going to happen over the course of the next few hours, I'll stop the animation here. There's two things we're watching. Individual storms ahead of the line. These will keep firing and moving northeast, right? The ones that are in kind of the south central part of the state, right down here, would be the ones most likely to produce a tornado. Farther south, there's less wind shear, so there's still a chance. Farther north, though, the air is a little cool and stable up there. Okay, thing two we're watching is this line of storms back behind that. It is progressing steadily eastward, and that's going to affect almost everyone. Even in places north of the warm front, it's going to be unstable enough to where you are going to deal with thunderstorms and heavy rain and gusty wind. That's just kind of baked in this sort of situation. So hope that kind of sums it all up a little bit. Kellyanne just joining. What did you miss? Quick answer is risk of damaging wind and tornadoes around the Montgomery River region area and Point South, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., and then 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. out in the western counties. If you're watching us in the eastern counties, rather. So 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the middle of the state, 3 to 6 in the east and southeast. Now through midnight in West Alabama. So that's what you missed. Damaging wind and tornadoes are possible. The highest risk area is along this front, roughly along that line right there. So that would be kind of the corridor here. And as the storms come in, they'll interact with that corridor, and that's where we would likely see tornadoes. If you live outside of this box, there's still a risk of tornadoes, but I think that's where you would potentially see the greatest risk would be right there along that front. So there you go. Let's switch back over to we'll do the Mobile radar. By the way, in the You Win the Bad Timing of the Decade Award, the radar from the National Weather Service over in southern Tallapoosa County, the one that serves most of our area, down right now. They've tried for 2 days now to fix it. It's not for a lack of trying. Our friends at the Weather Service are busting it, trying to move heaven and earth to get that radar working. They think they'll be able to get it done tomorrow, which actually is good because we may do this again on Saturday night, by the way. So there you go. David and Heather talking about a Tauga County rotation. You're north of the warm front right now. I really don't see a huge issue. I just want to know about Troy. Troy, you're in that, right? Troy, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Risk of damaging wind and isolated tornadoes. You need multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings, and you need to plan ahead of time where you'll go if a tornado warning is issued. So highest threat in Troy, probably right around after midnight. So there you go. Tyler, what's up, buddy? He says there may not be two things that go together quite like severe weather threats and nighttime in Alabama. You are right about that. That is why my hair looks like this. I would have a full head of lovely brown hair if we didn't have tornadoes or snow and if we didn't have them in the middle of the night. Whew. Lesser risk for the eastern third of the state since it's time to cool. No, I wouldn't say that necessarily. It depends on where you are. Like Chambers and Lee, the threat there is less because of the wedge. Southeast Alabama, a little less threat because the wind shear lifts out. But either way, yeah, I mean, I guess it's a different route of getting there, but the same kind of concept. No real hail risk, Todd. So Todd asking about hail, not a huge concern. Hey, Rachel asked a great question. What y'all always say mobile homes manufactured, but what about barns? I live in a barn, LOL. Hey, that barn dominiums are where it's at. The big concern with mobile and manufactured homes is how they are connected to the ground, right? So a barn dominium, if it was bolted into the concrete slab, it's not going to be as strong as a site-built home, but it would be a better option than a mobile or manufactured home. I would assume it's metal, frame, insulation, all that jazz. That's a really tough one. I would feel okay going to the center of that. Yeah. I mean, again, you know how it's built. I don't. But assuming that it is secured very firmly to the foundation and assuming that where the walls meet the ceiling is secured very well, I think you'd be okay. And now, if you're not sure about those two things, then I would get out of it, right? But if you can check those two boxes, my personal take is you'd probably be all right. Do I need to increase my homeowner's insurance and slap out? Buddy, if it's like mine, it increases itself. My homeowner's insurance multiplies like rabbits. Never seen anything like it. Like my mortgage keeps going up, 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 up. I'm like, whoa. How's a fella supposed to live these days? I don't know, brother. I don't know. Timing for Andalusia would be probably, we'll call it midnight to 4. Down there in Covington County, the snow capital of the world. Has been lately, right? Is this a Dr. Pepper night? I actually had a Diet Dr. Pepper earlier. I went to get a Diet Sunkist out of the drink machine. So look, our drink machine at WSFA didn't have Diet Sunkist. Or now it's called Sunkist Zero. Didn't have it. So one day I was in there talking to the guy who stocks it. And he said, well, Mr. Johnson, is there anything you'd like to see in here? And I said, buddy, let me tell you, I'd like to see some Sunkist Zero in that thing, because that is the fuel that keeps me rocking on these weather nights. He said, say no more, I got you. So he brought it. And he gave me an entire line. Like, you know how you have the drink machine, there's like a line that goes back of like 8 drinks? I got like a whole line of Sunkist Zero. And I was pretty jazzed about this. But I don't even know who it is yet. There's someone else here at the station who really likes it. And they bought all of it. And it's gone. And look, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So that's the answer to that. Man, I can't even keep up with the comments. Most of them are just about specific. Dustin asks, will there be 5 raindrops at exactly 12:05:15 a.m. in Honorable on March 1st, 2028? That's how this sort of feels sometimes. Yeah, if I knew that there would be a tornado in your town later tonight, I would leave the TV station and start going door to door, banging on the doors and saying, hey, there's going to be a tornado here later. I don't. I don't. I'm not a psychic. When a storm forms, we can start to track it, but that's about the extent of it. Until it actually forms, there's not a whole lot we can do in terms of the specifics of where a tornado is. Speaking of storms, this is a pretty nasty one here. Check this out. This is coming on the south end of Demopolis, north end of Linden. So along Old 43 there, Old Spring Hill, Jefferson, near the country store there, one of my favorite places. Got the big barbecue cook happening at the Jefferson Country Store, at the community club, rather. They do it in April and October. And it's on my bucket list. Go check that out. That's a nasty storm, though. Gusty wind, probably a good bit of lightning with that. We'll turn the light. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at all that lightning. Woo! Man, you could fry an egg outside with that kind of lightning. Don't do that, by the way. Bad idea. Gusty wind in this. We will watch for any rotation. Right now, we don't see anything out here, but we're a long way from the radar. But we're also north of the warm front here. So it would take some really wonky storm behavior to create that. And I'm sniffling a lot. I apologize. I've got this head cold thing going on. And no, I cannot stay on till 10. We actually have a newscast before that at 9 p.m. You can watch on Bounce TV. That's WSFA 12.2 most nights, unless the movie's on, and in Dothan. So any chance for Southeast Alabama later timing of storms that the tornado threat will diminish? Yes, I think so, Justin. The big thing that happens in Southeast Alabama is it's later into the night, so temperatures do drop a few degrees, but also the wind shear begins to lift out. We start to see that move north. It's already, the greatest wind shear is up here over central Alabama. So that's why, look, if the warm front comes north, this is all going to get really bad really fast because of the amount of wind shear up here. So far it hasn't, and hopefully our good fortune continues. Let's go here into Watauga. Okay, so not necessarily a rotation signature. I guess there's a little bit right there. That's probably in the mid-levels. Now remember, this is Birmingham radar because Maxwell is down, so you're looking at this a few thousand feet above the ground. But that's mostly a non-rotation look to that. So I'm not worked up about that. I will keep an eye on it. It's part of a storm that has a pretty long history of rotating. But you're north of the front here, which helps. It's cool, it's stable, and there's just not enough there to really get worked up about. So we'll keep an eye on it, but right now we don't see anything that's just jumping off the charts. So good news to be had there. Let's get back into the comments here. A lot of these comments are really funny, and I can't read them out loud because I don't want to say these words, but a lot of these comments are very funny. A lot of y'all are super hilarious. Does the low-level jet play a role in events like this? Yes. That's actually one of the big drivers in this specific event. There is a really strong low-level jet punching into South Alabama and Central Alabama right now. We've seen it crank up in the last 6 hours or so. When we look at why Alabama has a lot of nighttime tornadoes, there's a thing called the nocturnal low-level jet, which is just an intensification of the low-level jet that happens after dark. My theory is I think that's why a lot of our tornadoes are at night. Do I think the first round will weaken the second round? No, not especially. This is mainly a wind shear driven thing. If you're along and south of the warm front, one storm coming through is not really going to foul up the environment enough to help you with the second round, if that makes sense. It doesn't hurt your chances, right? But I also think it doesn't help you very much. So, Kimberly, I don't have a Diet Sunkist because somebody at WSFA bought all of them. If they hadn't done that to me, and that was some people use the phrase victimless crime. This is not that. I am the victim in this crime. It's grand larceny of my hopes and dreams and my Sunkist Zero. And I'm not grumpy or angry. I'm a little sad. I'm a little disappointed. I hope whoever it is, I hope they're enjoying their Sunkist. I hope it's refreshing. I hope it is the pep that they need in their step. I hope it is the wind beneath their wings. But it is not mine, and that makes my heart sad. So, do I have to worry about Millbrook anytime soon? No, not anytime soon, but I do think there's a window for Millbrook late tonight. Look, and when we say window here, I'm talking about tornadic-producing storms. Everywhere in our area, essentially, it's going to rain. And let me turn on the lightning here. Look at this. There are hundreds of lightning strikes in these storms right now. They don't really have any substantial risk of producing a tornado right now, this far north. But it's still, look, the weather's horrible. It's pouring rain. There's thunder. There's lightning. There's gusty wind out here. I mean, it probably sounds like an artillery exercise now in southern Chilton, northern Autauga. This is rough stuff. Sky flashing almost constantly. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder shaking the windows. This is the real deal. No real tornado risk, but the weather's horrible. So when we say things like, the risk is south of you, we're talking specifically of the tornado risk. Almost everyone in Alabama tonight is going to have some rain, some thunder, some gusty wind, some lousy weather. Some of you are going to have a risk of tornadoes. Right now it's south of Millbrook, but you are close enough to it to where if we see that warm front come north a little, that tornado risk could increase for you. So that's the answer. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Do I think they'll issue a tornado watch for Barber County? Probably late tonight. I suspect so. Josh, will you be at the station all night? Yes. Yes, I will. So there you go. Could this be a harbinger for a March and April storm risk? No, not particularly. I will say this. I think the pattern favors an active severe weather season in March and April. We'll see. Predictions like that, weeks and months in advance, are really, really poor. They're not very good most times. I'm being honest. You know me, I'm the Straight Talk Express. But the pattern favors it. We can DoorDash you some Sunkist. No, it wasn't Shay. Shay did not buy all the Diet Sunkist. Would you offer map classes? I'm not sure we are able to recognize counties. I understand that. We try to list them off a lot, too. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to post a graphic on social media with every county in our area and a timeline. Amanda had one this morning. I'm going to update it and post it. What's that? It's on the website. It's on WSFA.com right now. Go to WSFA.com, click on weather, and you can find it there. I will post it on my Facebook page as soon as I'm done with this. And it's literally the name of your county and the timing right there on the screen. So, look, I get it. We try really hard because some people are map people and some people are not map people. And for so many years, I feel like all the meteorologists in the state just kind of like point their finger and yell at everybody to learn where they live on a map. And look, yeah, they're probably right, but no one's going to do that. Is the reality of it, man. They're not going to. So we can either keep yelling at them to do something they've shown us they're not going to do, or we can change our approach and quit bashing our head into the same wall over and over and over. So that's what we've done here. We make a map. We produce a map. But for almost every big weather event, when it is possible to create a graphic that shows the name of the county and the timeline, and it's all text and no map, we do that too. Because we understand that some people are map people and some people are not map people. And there's no amount of lecturing from us that's going to make you a map person. We're just going to make it as easy as we can and serve both audiences. That's something we can do. So I've been doing that a lot this week with this whole, here actually, I'm going to walk back here and get the first alert clicker and show you, that timing chart right here. I wonder if it's still, it'll probably need some massaging. Yeah, we may have to slow it down a little. Montgomery, 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. I think it'll probably extend a little past that. All right, so the timing chart needs to be updated, so I'm not going to show that to you. What I'm going to do is show you I know this is like watching paint dry. All right, so I'm working on a graphic. You'll see it pop up right here. These are Cliff's Notes. These are for people who aren't map people. The timing on this is now, this is a graphic from earlier today, but now through sunrise Thursday, isolated wind damage and isolated tornadoes are possible. You need multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings and a plan on where to go. That works if you're a map person or if you're not a map person. So, there you go. Hey, I got a spammer on here. Anyone looking for a work-from-home job? Yes. All right, what's that warning? I heard it. Here, let me pop back over to the... I don't see anything. Was it a watch? By the way, the person I'm speaking with is Madeline Banks. She is our newest meteorologist here at WSFA. And she is on WSFA 12 News at 9 most nights as we sort of get her up to speed. She's a recent college graduate, very sharp young lady. You're going to love to get to know her. She is going to hit your screen soon. We are still working on how to say the place names and how to do this and how to do that. So she's kind of in her training phase right now. Very sharp meteorologist, though. Knows the weather inside and out. So look for her soon. And the you need to work from home guys going crazy. That's a tornado watch that popped. That's what that is. Let's see here. Let's find that and show it to you. Fine folks. Hey, look, Elba says, I realized Elba's good. Might actually get to sleep tonight. Look, I hope you sleep tonight. However, Elba is in a risk area. There is a risk of severe weather in Elba tonight. So please don't make a decision based on faulty information. There's a risk of tornadoes in Elba. It's not as high as it is elsewhere, but it is there. So you still need to follow that same advice. Second floor of an apartment, not optimal. You really would rather get on the first floor. Lots of people saying, welcome, Madeline. She appreciates that. Yeah, they did issue a tornado watch for Lee County. And yes, like I said, I think it's a long shot that it makes it all the way up to Auburn. But southern Lee, yeah, the warm front could make it that far. Auburn, the warm front could make it that far. And what the other thing they're going to do here is they're going to look at it and say, okay, we think the warm front will make it to this row of counties. But just in case it goes farther north, let's add another row of counties to the tornado watch. That way we've totally given ourselves a little pad, a little cushion. And look, that's smart meteorology, right? They've done this a long time, just like I have. They've been burned before, just like I have. So you touch the stove a few times, you start to play it a little safer with where you draw these lines. So best way to protect a baby during a tornado, you would want to cover their head and neck, secure them in something. Your best bet would be to get their car seat. Get their car seat out, put it in your tornado safe place, strap them into that, and then have something close by that, I mean, if it really, you don't have to do this when the warning's issued, but if your house is getting hit, maybe throw a mattress over the car seat real quick to help protect them. Covington County risk level 1 to 5. Covington is probably like 1 to 2. I'll show it to you. Again, I personally don't get wound up about these things, and you shouldn't either, because a risk is a risk is a risk. So level 1 risk is a 2%, level 2 is a 5, and a level 3 is a 10%. So that's where you are. You're at level 3, kind of 2-ish to 3-ish in Covington. But please, again, don't get wound up on this. A risk is a risk is a risk. Okay, so that new tornado watch includes all of Alabama except for the Wiregrass. Here, I'll show it to you. Josh Nichols says, why your hairline goes so far back? Because I have to deal with idiots like you on a regular basis. Every single day that the good Lord wakes me up, and I'm so appreciative that he does, I end up encountering someone with an IQ south of room temperature who gets on these Facebook Lives and trolls people. But don't worry, Joshua. I'm going to block you as soon as this is over. So that is one less receding hairline millimeter that I'll have to worry about next time. By the way, 99% of the people on this Facebook Live are not like him. They're awesome people. Thank you for being awesome. But the trolls, the know-it-alls, the jerks, yeah, that's why my hair looks like this way. Actually, I think, jokes aside, I think it's genetics. My dad's hair is doing okay. His is going a little bit, but both my grandpas, they were follically challenged at times. So I guess that's it. So Josh Nichols, head on to bed. Mom's going to be mad at you if you don't. Maxwell radar's down. They're working on trying to fix it. That was the question. So JJ says, Josh, you're the reason I'm considering becoming a meteorologist. Awesome. We need more meteorologists. You'll have to put up with some knuckleheads, but every now and then you get the opportunity to regulate on them, like Nate Dogg and Warren G style. So that can be pretty fun. But the most fun part of it is the weather itself and telling people about the weather. That is really a cool opportunity. Like, we get a chance to help walk you through some really crazy things. Like, it snowed a foot in Covington County less than a month ago. Now you're under a tornado watch, right? Like, being able to walk people through these really crazy things and explain it to them and understand it and help them understand it is a really cool opportunity. So JJ, get on in here. We are glad to have you. We need you. So what does the yellow mean? The yellow is the tornado risk that's up at 10%. So these are just risk probabilities from the Storm Prediction Center. 2% is green, 5% is brown, 10% is yellow. 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. Like, that means that anywhere in this yellow, you could pick any spot, and within 25 miles of the spot you pick, there's a 1 in 10 chance they have a tornado there. Those are pretty tough odds, right? Like, I know 10% doesn't sound crazy, but let's say you and 9 friends were going out to eat. You're going to go have dinner. So there's a party of 10, and you walk in, you put your name in, and the guy says, hey, look, we got a table for you, but just so you know, one of you is going to get food poisoning tonight. We don't know which one, but one person in your party is going to end up sick tonight from what they eat here. Would you go to a different restaurant? Fun thought exercise, right? I would. If I knew that one of my party of 10 was definitely going to get food poisoning, I would take protective action to keep me and my people safe. Just like this, just like a 10% or a 5%. Again, if the party size was 20, it was you and your 19 closest friends, and you went to eat and they said, one of y'all is going to get sick tonight, you'd go to a different restaurant, right? So don't get wound up about the percentages. Just understand there is a risk of tornadoes. And with even just a small amount of planning and protective actions, you can navigate this in a very efficient way. Multiple reliable ways of getting weather warnings. Plan ahead of time where you'll go in the event of a tornado. So there you go. All right, I'm going to get off this Facebook Live so that I can do 2 things. Block Josh Nichols, coming for you, and the guy who keeps posting about anyone looking for a work-from-home job. You are going to have one less Facebook page to post on in about 30 seconds. You yourself are going to be looking for a work from home job. So that's what I'm going to do. The real thing I'm going to do is get ready for WSFA's News at 9. It airs on Bounce TV 12.2, also in Dothan on the Dothan CW. That's channel 4.3 over the air. We also stream that newscast. You can stream it live on the WSFA family of apps. Then we'll have another update tonight on Big Channel 12, WSFA, tonight at 10. You can stream that on the WSFA First Alert Weather app. You can also stream it on your smart TV. You can watch over the air. You can watch on cable. You can watch on satellite. And we will do an additional Facebook and YouTube live stream that Josh Nichols and the work from home person are not invited to tonight at 10:30. So we will see you there and then. We'll constantly post updates to the app. I'm going to go knock one of those out real quick. Watch the website as well, WSFA.com. We're constantly hitting that with fresh information as well.